The Ambazonian, special loyalty, presence to our Savior who granted us the freedom, and levels to the hero who God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation.
Asawana, all my place day, good morning. This message is going out for soldiers, all foot soldiers for Ground Zero. Now for the way I send this message, La Republic effect 20 million campus go. I want to thank all soldiers from northern to southern zone. I want to thank them for which way, for the resistance we did not put up in order for enforce this effect 20 million in our campus go so. Again, soldiers from Ground Zero don't demonstrate for the world say Ambazonia, it belongs to all Ambazonians and not to La Republic. So I want to bring this special information for soldiers and say, on behalf of Ground Zero soldiers, I don't receive a letter from the leader of the liberation, the Ambazonian leader of the liberation, Dr. Joe Ayaba. I don't receive a letter from him where he write all the way from Oslo prison for Norway. He addressed the letter through me, make a deliver for soldiers. For that letter, he thank all soldiers, whether ARF, whether ATF, whether whichever force we did for Ground Zero, he thank all soldiers for the resistance we they put up against La Republic, and he talk say he the year which will happen and make soldiers no ever give up 1 inch for Amba land for La Republic. Make them no ever give up for this fight. At the end of the day, we'll win the war just like the Afghanistan them through Taliban resist America, they win. Just like Vietnam resist America, they win. Just like any other people the way they don't fight war, they resist their oppressor and they resist their colonial master them, and they end up they win the war. So that's in this way, Dr. Joe Ayaba, all the way from Norway prison, he write them, send them for me through a letter where I don't print out the letter, I save them for inside my files for one of our archives. We after this liberation, we'll put them for museum, whichever museum where it will be for Ambaland, we'll put that letter there as a museum where people that will come visit them, they will see them. So fellow Amazonians, this one a message where I don't bring up for all soldiers and for thank them and for make sure for tell they say would you win this war. Again, Ambazonia don't demonstrate for the war saying that they own Amba land, not the La Republic. When I see the way Popia the peace for it close them, when they there for 20 May. That one way the peace or close, not be just say not join normal peace. The peace for those say it pressure they on the skin. And that pressure, now we put that pressure on Ambazonia. So when I forget about Black Legs, when I forget about any other person who strive for sabotage this revolution. When the revolution is in good hands and we wait for continue the resistance, I will call upon diaspora Ambazonians for re-engage for their funding of this war, especially for the side for popcorn, for the side for people where you will help our soldiers and guard our roads them. Make La Republic no fit pass. When La Republic no fit pass in other areas, they will be safe because La Republic no fit invade. We must make La Republic make it face the cost of the cost of occupation. That means they get for the pay heavily for occupied Ambazonia. At the end of the day, it will back run because of serious say gain no day for the occupied Ambazonia because it pay heavily for the occupied Ambazonia. And see this one I don't bring up for now today. Make all soldiers stand at Allah, all we did together, and one man, one money, we move forward. Thank you so much for sharing this audio.
Revolutionary greetings, my fellow Ambazonians. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you may find yourself. On this 23rd day of May 2025, to our captives in jail, in the dungeons of La République du Cameroun, and in their torture chambers in Ambazonia, Una Place Day. To our refugees, both internally displaced and in refugee camps around the world, Una Place Day. To my brother, the leader of this revolution, who is at this particular moment unjustly under gross violations of every possible rights in Norway, my president, leader of our revolution, Dr. Cho Ayaba, ya place day. To the nationalist community in the diaspora, those who through the occupation and other means found themselves in different countries around the world, Una Place Day. Most importantly, to our forces, our people on the front line, who day to day face the brutal occupying regime of the cops in Yaoundé, who stand between our defenseless people and the horror that is the occupation of La République du Cameroun. To these forces, Una Cafe Day up, Una Place Day. My fellow Ambazonians, it is something that might be easy or a low-hanging fruit to come today and be celebrating that we have shown La République du Cameroun, embarrassed them on their national day. But at this moment, I think we have transitioned from that mindset, because we are about the business of liberating Ambazonia. And the business of liberating Ambazonia is not and has never been to create a strategy around combating the gimmicks that La République du Cameroun tried to put up to show that they are masters of our land through their 11th February, 20th May, and all of this stuff. But it will be remiss of me not to congratulate the Ambazonian people for understanding the national identity of Ambazonia, for understanding in their tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, over villages and towns, hundreds, thousands of villages and towns across Ambazonia, to understand the fundamentals of our nationalism, and that our nationalism has never been and is never tied to the nationalism of a foreign occupying force like La République du Cameroun. And that is why in droves, they abandon every aspect that La République tried to create yesterday of a one identity. I have always at these moments tried as much as possible to begin my briefing of the revolution by showing who we are fighting against, so as to demonstrate to Ambazonians the power of their resistance, the success of their efforts, and why they will win. La République du Cameroun is no longer a functioning state. It is falling, it is failing, fragmented, held together by corruption, fear, and illusion. Behind the false image of unity and strength lies a nation that, my fellow Ambazonians, is imploding at its core. Their economy, through your efforts and their mismanagement, is in free fall. They are bankrupt, unable to meet basic obligations to their civil servants or their soldiers or their enablers within Ambazonia, and their traitors. No credible international institution trusts them. Their credit rating is worthless, and loans are denied or they are stored on the decks of these international institutions. They have resorted to gimmicks and propaganda projects, hollow declarations of fake economic growth and phantom infrastructure projects meant to deceive the international community to extend them lines of credit. They have pawned their national assets and even ours to France and foreign powers, trading their sovereignty for political survival. Their regime is ruled by a corpse president, the henchman of Yaoundé, Mr. Paul Biya, a man absent from their national life, whose name is used to prop up an inner cabal of criminals and opportunists. Their ministries are run by factions, not institutions. They have no leadership, no legitimacy, no law. Their local administrators act like warlords, extorting and suppressing, with no vision beyond looting and survival. In my last outing, I showed you the skeleton of how these cabals are run, how this warlordism manifests itself in the daily life of our people. The horror that these local warlords, which is what their government have devolved into, with these warlords paying protection money up their chain of command to maintain their position. Their army is plagued by mutiny, moral collapse, and desertions. Boko Haram and other insurgents run wild in their north. Soldiers sent to Ambazonia die in silence while their families go unpaid. They now rely on militias, death squads, and criminals to maintain control, like the ones who raped an 11-year-old girl in Gabu just a few days ago, lifted cattle in their tens and hundreds from Ambazonians to go and sell, extort, and operate butcher shops. Like the uprising you saw our people exhibiting in Munyenge, how they are extorting our farmers and our communities. They now rely on these militias and these death squads and outright criminals to maintain control, not only of a functioning state as a functioning state, but also as a government. Ethnic divisions are deepening. Anger simmers between their north and south, between their east and their west. The regime clings to power by weaponizing tribalism and division. Their public trust is gone. The street speaks not of patriotism as they try to celebrate on 20th May, but of betrayal and desperation. My fellow Ambazonians, this is the enemy we face. We have reduced them to gimmicks, creating propaganda to appear strong while they crumble from within. They can't defeat us militarily. They can't divide us ideologically. They can outlast our resolve. They have lost the war. The only thing holding them upright is the illusion that they create through propaganda that they can still win this. The illusion of a stable state that they create in their dreams. The bribery and corruption that they have invested in foreign institutions and their friends that they have outsourced their sovereignty, like France, to France, who are the ones that are extorting the wealth of the Ambazonian people and the Cameroon people, creating that illusion within the community of the world, using institutions in the EU to create that illusion while they rape Ambazonia and to an extent La République du Cameroun for their gains. These are the people that are fostering this belief that Ambazonia has not already won the war, that we have not crumbled them internally, that they are not standing right now with legs of clay ready to crumble with just the right shove, just the right push, just the right hit. But I am here to tell you, my fellow Ambazonians, that we are on the cusp of victory, because truth is on our side, because our people are waking up, rejecting fear and betrayal. And you saw that manifest on 20th May, a couple of days ago. Because every attack they make only exposes their desperation and strengthens our unity and our unity of purpose. Because we have sacrificed too much to turn our back by a corpse and gimmicks. The collapse is not a question of if, it is a matter of when. And Ambazonia will rise from their ruins. That, my fellow Ambazonia, is the enemy that we are facing. That is the state of the enemy. And let me use this opportunity as I talk about a regime that is propped up by a corpse that criminal cabals running the junta in Yaoundé are using to prop up their criminal enterprise. This extends far beyond the borders of La République du Cameroun, as I have just explained. Look, in a couple of days' time, the BBC will be putting out a documentary on Cameroon. They sent a questionnaire to the organization. That questionnaire was asking for questions that their documentary seemed to already have answered and have been produced on. So the questionnaire was like, what do you say your response to your attacks on CDC workers, questions on your attacks on schools, questions on... So it tells you that like what the Norwegian journalists did, who went and the government, the La République du Cameroun junta, held his hand, put him on cars and planes and helicopters, and he moved around and they showed him where to look, what to say, and all of that, who to talk to. And then he went back and started harassing their police and government institutes. And suddenly the CIC is picked up. And suddenly an international incident is created. And nobody has asked that journalist, because we have not had the opportunity to bring the CIC in an open courtroom to ask, to look at that journalist's bank account or his family's bank account. Who sponsored him in La République du Cameroun? We have not had that opportunity to look if there was any gain. Because Ambazonians, we know how the regime in Yaoundé functions. We know how deeply corrupt that regime is. So there is a documentary being produced by the BBC, and the only participation of Ambazonia is a dry questionnaire saying that what about what you did this? What about this? What about that? So you already know the tilt of that propaganda. This is coming from a country that ultimately betrayed Ambazonia and sold us into slavery. And you have this gimmick that they are making on a documentary and don't have the gall, the objectivity, let me put it that way, to even interview or look at the perspective of the Ambazonian people. Is after they have done their documentary and is ready to go on air, they send in a few questions so that they could grandstand on the fact that, oh, we also contacted the Ambazonian people. That is a propaganda. Let me be categoric. I haven't seen it. I don't need to see. I just need to look at the process and know that that is another gimmick used to prop up this junta, these cops in Yaoundé and their hold on Ambazonia. The same gimmick that resulted in a journalist who don't know We have not seen his bank account. But we know was worked hand in hand with the regime in Yaoundé. And the CIC suddenly found himself in a captive. Broken Norwegian, hundreds of Norwegian law. A captive incommunicado in Norway. So, my fellow Ambazonians, expect nothing but betrayal from this documentary put on by the BBC. And so I come to our liberation briefings for today. As I indicate, this is not a celebration to come and be saying how La République du Cameroun failed in showing their control of Ambazonia, because if you are able to have the power of life and death to go out and threaten people, to hold people at gunpoint, to blackmail, to use the purse strings of your government and what happens is the sad reality that we saw of people who call themselves fonts and chiefs of our land marching like schoolboys on the streets. If that is not an embarrassment, I am sorry. The other day I had the OG organization tell me that he hasn't seen me laugh on camera like I am laughing. But when you see such gimmicks of people who don't have respect of even themselves, how can you not laugh? It is such an atrocious disgrace of leaders, quote unquote, that I don't know how La République du Cameroun themselves are not embarrassed by it. We will deal with these traitors. We will deal with them. Make no mistake. And I'm not going to chew my words about chiefs and fonts who are traitors, about priests and I don't know, holy men, reverends who are traitors. You betray our people. You celebrate the death and massacre and genocide of our people. You put yourself with the regime that is extorting, murdering, and killing our people in places like Munyenge, like Ngabu, like Pinyin, like Bali, like Kumba. You do that. Whether you carry a cloth that you are a priest or a chief or a fon, you are a traitor to Ambazonia, you are a genocide enabler, and we will come for you. Today, tomorrow, or in a free Ambazonia. I know exactly what I am saying, and I know why I am saying it. Let the rat not think that the cat has been put in a cage, and that the threat of the cat being put in a cage makes it possible that the rat can come out and dance. And the cat will not growl because he's afraid to go to the cage. Any man who want understand, make it understand. Make I talk so. But don't dare us. Don't dare the Ambazonian people because you wear something that grants you immunity, that you think grants you immunity to betray, to act as informants, to act as enablers. And we will spare you. If you are part of this genocide and support this genocide in Ambazonia, you are an enemy of Ambazonia, and we have the right to go after you, and we will go after you. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you are Tom, Dick, or Harry, whether you are James, Njiniko, or Quifo. We will go after you, and it is our right. It is not just a right, it is an obligation. And it will be a betrayal of the Ambazonian people, of the laws of God and man, if we don't go after you. Because you put something on your neck that you are a reverend, because you hold a cap in your head that you are a chief. So let me warn all of these Tom, Dicks, and Harrys. You can go and do your march pass. You can point out the homes of people in your villages that these are nationalists, these are Ambazonians, these are that, and their homes are burnt and they are murdered and thrown and guns are planted on their body that they are fighters. You can do all of these things, but I promise you this. What you will not do, you will not make the defense chairman not call these chiefs and priests as terrorists. We will call you as terrorists. It doesn't matter whether I am in the United States of America or I am in Europe or I am in Ambazonia. I will call you a terrorist and we will go after you. Because what you do in our communities, the lives you take in our communities, they are painful. They are painful. And the life of one Ambazonian fallen or taken by the regime through your effort is worth 10 times your lives. 10 times. 10 times your lives. And no country, no defense force is going to allow such treachery and betrayal within their midst. And as I have always told the Ambazonian people, we are not an exceptional people. We are human beings. We are not above or below the rights of human beings. We are human beings, and we will operate as the Israelis will operate, as the Americans will operate, as the South Africans will operate, as any other human beings, as the Norwegians will operate. We will operate the same way. Come rain or high water. It doesn't matter the threat or the friends that exert of La République du Cameroun that tries to exert pressure on us. We will operate in the same way. And that is why I will want to commend the liberation leadership of our forces in Fako. You have stood on the business of the liberation of Ambazonia in the teeth and the heart of the resistance. You still perform in miraculous ways. So to the leadership, our liberation leadership in Fako, Wuna place day up. Wuna place day up. You follow a chain of command. You honor our code of conduct. Wuna place day and you bring fire to the enemy. To our forces in Meme, you have faced terrible circumstances. Lost your commander, commanding general, but you fight on. And this week, you have demonstrated that you have teeth to bite, and you keep biting the enemy in ways that makes them feel the pain of the Ambazonian people. Wuna place day. I commend your efforts and your deployments this week. It has been felt. To our forces in Momo, we all saw how much your efforts made it possible that even with their blackmail and their treachery and their enablers within them, La République du Cameroun was unable to demonstrate any whole or force of unity on the streets in Momo. To our forces in Mezan, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And each step in that journey brings you closer to the target. Your efforts were filled with the emptiness that La République saw. The effort that was military, civil, political, from every left, center, right in La République du Cameroun. The full court press that they put in place ran up against the resistance of our people, and those that were imported from La République du Cameroun to come demonstrate and spur you to see that they have gathered a crowd from Buda to Bafusam, to fool you to come out and join the crowd. You were not fooled. And our Bameda command and our people will not place day. And this week, I want to commend the leadership, both civil and military, of the liberation in the Boyo, Ginicom, womb axis of the liberation. It has not been an easy month and a half. I know the preparation, the effort that went in order for the liberation to strike a vicious blow against the enemy. It was meticulous. There was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of back and forth. But the coordinators remain on task, and the leadership of the liberation on the ground demonstrated a level of professionalism, a level of daring, a level of commitment that came together in one of the biggest fights we have seen this year. We bloodied La République du Cameroun in Ginicom and Boyo. We bloodied them badly. our fighters demonstrated a level of nationalism that is enviable and merits our awe and our praise. So to our liberation fighters in Boyo, the greater Menchum area, Ginicom, Una Cafe Diop, I thank you for the job that was done, the level of professionalism that made it possible that our forces return to base without a crash, a scratch, while la République du Cameroun filled body bags on the field of battle. Across days, your operation unfolded. You hit them, trap them, pull them in. When they thought you had gone home, that is when you brought the main battle to them. The level of their casualties showed how meticulous planning and the way that you staggered your attacks over days bamboozled and confused them and exposed them to one of the biggest victories the Ambazonian people have seen this year. And while we do that, I think the level of my briefing today and the foundational statement that we don't organize our liberation around the gimmicks of La République du Cameroun on days like 20th May and 11th February and their elections days and all of that, that we don't do that because we are in the business of liberation was demonstrated by Boyo. Because it wasn't something geared on 20th May, the biggest battles took place even afterwards. And that tells you that we are about the business of liberation, not the gimmicks that Cameroon. Them can go on and celebrate their 20th May and stuff. That right now means nothing to us. We are about the business of liberating Ambazonia. And so I want to extend my greetings and awe and thanks to our forces in Donga. Day in, day out, they and the civilian and military leadership demonstrate a level of effectiveness and efficacy that is enviable. So I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to them for the work that have been done over the months, but also on the push and the demonstration of force that we saw this past week. They were out in force, enforcing revolutionary laws, but also demonstrating to the enemy that we are masters of our land and that we are going to push them out one way or the other. They will crumble internally, or we will reclaim the field as we have already defeated them on the field. So to our forces in Donga, Una Place Day, we see you, we hear you, keep on the good work. Make sure that the militia activities that is rampant, that was rampant, and you quell it down, does not resurface in Donga. Crush it and bring to justice all those involved in the rape of an 11-year-old child. They bring horror and abomination in our land, things that we have not seen. Make sure that justice is delivered in the strongest way possible. I trust you, our forces, and the leadership in Donga to do that. And I will bring the results to the Ambazonian people. I will be remiss not to mention our liberation efforts in Bui. You were also out on the field in operations. I know that I was talking to General Capo and I could not finish my conversation with him because they were already deployed. The evidence of that and the sister forces was clear for all to see by the dawn of 20th of May. My fellow Ambazonians, these are the efforts of your forces from Fako to Boyo, from Ginicom to Ndonga to Bui. The guns of Ambazonia have not been silent. We can all attest to the fact. We can attest to the embarrassment of La République du Cameroun. Ambazonians should walk with their chest open, wide, and their heads held high. Not because we embarrass La République du Cameroun, not because with their threats, bribery, extortion, intimidation, they could not succeed in their propaganda in Ambazonia. Not because of that. Because your brothers and sisters, cousins, fathers and mothers, grandfathers are out defending every inch of Ambazonian territory and having success. Because for over 7 years of active, brutal occupation and genocide, you still hear the guns of Ambazonia proudly sounding from the hills and valleys in Boyo to the plantations in Fako and in Meme and in Donga. You hear that day in and day out, week after week. You hear the voice of your incarcerated leader in the cells in Norway, shouting freedom this week, shouting resistance, shouting that don't give up, stand up. You hear them from the dungeons in La République du Cameroun. You hear them. The fields and the farms in Bui, you hear them. From here in America, from Ireland, you hear those voices coming out. From South Africa to Belgium, you see the resistance. You see the leaders. You see the people on the street. That is why your chest must be wide open, your head high, and you know that victory is ours. Victory is already ours. And so I will call on you to demonstrate that pride. Demonstrate that pride by not for 1 second crumble under the weight of fatigue of any kind. Fatigue due to the propaganda of La République and its allies. Don't get fatigued of that. When you see a country reduced by their internal enablers, the traitors, and their own people celebrating that there was, did you see that march past in this place? When you see they put your quote unquote, your chiefs to march like schoolboys, that is not things to make you fatigue. Those are things that should spur that nationalism in you, and you jump for joy because it tells you that you are winning. You have reduced them to this gimmicky propaganda. That should be the things that make you decide to sacrifice more rather than make you fatigue. When you see the death chair on your door, calling you, knocking on your door, talking to you, joining me, those are not things, and asking you that we need to be out there supporting. We need your voice, we need your pocket, we need everything on the line. Those are not things to make you fatigue. Those are things to tell you that we are winning, because if I knock on your door, it means the resistance is there and the resistance is strong. The day that I don't knock, that will be the day that you are afraid that what is going on. So my fellow Ambazonians, we march on. The enemy is rotting from within. A cabal, a criminal cabal is propping up a corpse in their capital, Yaoundé, in order to run their criminal enterprise. Their government is held up by warlordism, as their local governments have devolved into warlords intent on extortion and running criminal rackets. That is the enemy that we face. The right push, and that whole house of cards will crumble down. And I can tell you that we are on the way to delivering that right push. My fellow Ambazonians, may God bless you and our forces. May God bless our land. And believe me, victory is already ours.
Hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonians, special loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. I love to the hero for all the Lord we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.